The storm had swallowed the world whole. Rachel Moore stared at the road ahead, her hands gripping the steering wheel with a white-knuckled determination. The wipers fought valiantly against the rain, the soft thwip almost drowned out by the deafening roar of the storm. Every few seconds, a streak of lightning would tear across the sky, illuminating the endless sheets of water cascading from the heavens. The world outside her window was a blur, grey, cold, and relentless. It had been a long day, longer than Rachel had expected. Her little girl Eleliana sat beside her in silence, staring out the window with wide, uncertain eyes. Rachel's thoughts were clouded with the heavy weight of the day's events. Another hearing test, another disappointment, another reminder that Eleliana was different. Her world was quieter, less clear, and more complicated than the world of other children. Rachel glanced at her daughter. Eleliana's small face was pressed against the glass, her tiny hands clasped tightly around her backpack. Her eyes were not on the road or the storm, but somewhere deeper, as though her young mind was lost in a place far away from the rainy world around her. Rachel's heart ached. She knew her daughter carried burdens she would never understand, burdens of silence, isolation, and longing for something that always seemed just out of reach. Rachel reached out, her hand brushing Eleliana's shoulder, a small, comforting gesture. "We'll be home soon," she whispered. "Just hang on a little longer." Eleliana didn't reply, but the small nod she gave her mother was enough to tell Rachel that the child had heard her. They both longed for the same thing, to reach the safety of their home and escape the heavy, unrelenting weight of the world. But the storm outside had other plans. The wind howled against the car's frame as Rachel struggled to keep control of the vehicle. The rain was so thick now that it was impossible to see more than a few feet in front of her. The roads, slick and treacherous, seemed to stretch out endlessly, a maze of dangerous curves and hidden obstacles. "Not now, please," Rachel murmured, her voice filled with desperation. Her tires hit a particularly deep puddle, sending the car into a harsh, sudden swerve. She quickly corrected it, but the feeling of uncertainty lingered in her gut. The storm wasn't just outside the car, it felt like it was inside her too. The weight of everything, all of the challenges, the constant worry over Eleliana's health, the never-ending stress of her own job, the pressure of keeping things together, it was all crashing down on her. Suddenly, the engine stuttered. The SUV lurched forward, a jarring jolt that nearly threw Rachel from her seat. Her heart skipped a beat. She gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to steady the car, but the vehicle had no intention of cooperating. "Please, not now," Rachel whispered again, her voice shaking. She could feel the car losing power, the engine sputtering with an ominous sound. The storm outside roared louder, as if the world itself were protesting their struggle to move forward. There was nothing Rachel could do. The engine coughed, sputtered once more, and then the car died, leaving them stranded in the middle of nowhere. Rachel's breath caught in her chest. Her fingers hovered over the steering wheel, unsure of what to do next. The dashboard lights flickered weakly, and her phone's screen flashed a low battery warning. Her heart began to race. She looked out the side window and saw the vast, empty stretch of road before them. No other cars, no signs of life. Just rain, and more rain. In that moment, everything felt so empty. The storm outside mirrored her sense of helplessness. There was no help coming. She was completely alone in the middle of nowhere, and her daughter was depending on her. "Mum?" Eleliana's small voice broke through the silence. Rachel turned to see her daughter staring ahead, her wide, innocent eyes filled with fear. "What's happening, Mommy?" Rachel forced a smile, though it felt more like a mask than anything real. "It's okay, sweetheart. The car's just having some trouble. We'll be fine." But even as she said the words, Rachel didn't believe them. The truth was they were stuck. The rain wasn't letting up. The cold was creeping into the car, and Rachel had no idea what to do next. For a moment, the weight of it all pressed down on her, and she felt herself starting to break. The pressure, the fear, the uncertainty, all of it seemed so overwhelming. How would she fix this? How could she keep Eleliana safe? Then, out of the corner of her eye, Rachel saw something. a figure moving through the rain. She squinted, trying to focus on the shadow that had appeared at the edge of her vision. It was moving slowly, almost stumbling. A flash of lightning illuminated the figure for a brief moment. It was a dog. The creature was huge, larger than any dog Rachel had ever seen, and it was moving with a limp, its fur matted and soaked through with rain. Its head was down, and it seemed to be struggling, each step heavy and uncertain. A surge of unease washed over Rachel. She knew animals. She'd seen enough to know when a creature was in distress, and this dog was not in a good place. The dog's movement was jagged and erratic, and its body language screamed one thing: fear. If you believe in second chances, make sure to comment and subscribe. We'll be back with more heartwarming moments in the next part of the story. Rachel's breath hitched as she watched the dog inch closer, its steps slow and deliberate. Its large, dark eyes were wide with fear, scanning the environment like it was trapped in a world it didn't understand. Rachel's first instinct was to roll up the windows and lock the doors, but she hesitated. Something about the dog, the way it moved, the sadness in its eyes made her pause. It wasn't the wild, dangerous creature her mind first imagined. This was an animal in pain, an animal that had been hurt. Eleliana's small voice broke through Rachel's thoughts. "Mom, what's wrong with it?" Rachel's heart sank as she looked at her daughter. Eleliana was staring at the dog, her expression filled with sympathy, her innocent heart unable to understand the danger that could be lurking beneath the dog's distressed exterior. Rachel gently placed a hand on her daughter's arm, her grip firm but careful. "We don't know what's going on with that dog, honey. Stay in the car, please." Her voice was soft, but it carried an undercurrent of urgency. But Eleliana was already unbuckling her seatbelt. "Mom," she said again, her voice filled with quiet resolve. "It's scared, just like me." Rachel froze. A wave of emotion hit her like a ton of bricks. In that moment, her daughter's words hit her harder than the rain that hammered against the car. Eleliana was a child who knew what it felt like to be misunderstood, to be different. She knew what it was like to feel out of place in a world that was often too loud, too fast, too confusing. But there was more. Eleliana was brave too. A bravery born not of the absence of fear, but from the willingness to face it head on, to step into the unknown, and that was exactly what her daughter was doing now. Rachel's heart raced as she watched Eleliana open the car door, step out into the storm, and move toward the dog. "Eleliana, no," Rachel called, but the child was already kneeling down. Her hands held out in front of her, as if to tell the dog, "I won't hurt you." The dog stopped in its tracks. It took a hesitant step back, but its body language was no longer as threatening. There was fear in its eyes, yes, but also something else, something Rachel couldn't quite place. Eleliana's tiny voice, trembling yet resolute, echoed through the storm. "I won't hurt you, I promise. I just want to help." Rachel's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to pull her daughter back. She wanted to keep her safe, keep her away from whatever danger the dog might represent. But something in the pit of her stomach told her that this wasn't the same as a wild animal lurking in the shadows. This was a creature, just like Eleliana, that had been abandoned, hurt, and left alone. And like her daughter, it had found someone who might understand its pain. Rachel watched in awe as Eleliana slowly extended her hand toward the dog. The rain soaked through her clothes, but her eyes never left the dog's. The dog, still trembling, took a hesitant step forward. Rachel held her breath. She was afraid, yes, but there was something else that tugged at her heart. Hope. And then the most miraculous thing happened. The dog, once so filled with fear and aggression, softened. It stepped closer to Eleliana, its trembling body now relaxed, its dark eyes softening. It sniffed the air around her hand, and for a moment everything seemed to stand still. Eleliana smiled, a bright, innocent smile that made Rachel's heart ache with love and wonder. She was reaching out, not with fear, but with kindness. Not with caution, but with an open heart. Rachel's fear began to dissipate, replaced with something unfamiliar, a feeling she hadn't had the luxury to feel in a long time. Peace. If you Think kindness can heal even the deepest scars. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like and share this story with those who believe in the power of compassion. Rachel watched in silence as Eleliana crouched down, her hand outstretched, palm open. The rain continued to fall in sheets, but it no longer felt like an obstacle. It felt like a backdrop to the miracle unfolding before her. The dog, its matted fur drenched, looked like it had been through something horrible, a history of pain and abandonment written in every worn inch of its body. The moment stretched on, Rachel's heart beating wildly as she saw the dog inching closer, inch by inch toward Eleliana's outstretched hand. Eleliana's voice, soft and steady, broke the tension. "You're okay. I'm here to help." Rachel's eyes welled with tears as she watched her daughter. In this simple act of kindness, Eleliana was doing more than just reaching out to an animal. She was showing the world that healing was possible, even in the most broken of beings. But Rachel couldn't let her guard down completely. She had seen enough to know that some animals, driven by fear, could be dangerous. She felt her stomach tighten with the knowledge that this situation wasn't over. She had to protect Eleliana. She had to make sure they didn't get hurt, her. Instinct screamed at her to call her daughter back, to get back into the car, to shut the door and lock it. But Eleliana wasn't listening to that voice. She was focused, determined, and calm in a way that Rachel hadn't seen in her before. "Mom," Eleliana called softly, her voice steady and reassuring. "It's okay. He's just scared." Rachel's heart fluttered with a mixture of fear and pride. Her daughter had always had a deep well of empathy, but now seeing her extend that empathy to a creature as broken as this dog, Rachel felt something shift inside her. Maybe the world didn't have to be so harsh. Maybe there was still room for kindness, for compassion. Even in the darkest of storms, the dog stepped closer, its hesitant movements becoming more confident. It sniffed Eleliana's hand, and then, just as she had done with the food she offered to strangers, the dog did something surprising. It lowered its head, nuzzling her hand gently. A quiet, unspoken surrender. Rachel's chest tightened. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt this much hope. Her daughter's bravery, her ability to reach out in the face of fear, had bridged a gap that had seemed impossible to cross. Rachel watched as the dog, now standing still, looked up at Eleliana. There was a moment of complete connection, and Rachel could feel the shift in the air. The dog had trusted Eleliana, and Eleliana had trusted the dog. For the first time in what felt like forever, Rachel felt a wave of relief wash over her. The world, the storm, and all the fear seemed to fade into the background as she witnessed the power of compassion in action. It wasn't just the dog that had healed in that moment. Rachel herself had found a piece of peace she hadn't known was possible. If you believe that kindness can break through the toughest barriers, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs a little hope, and leave a comment about the healing power of compassion. The storm raged on, but inside that small, intimate bubble between Eleliana and the dog, there was an unexpected calm. Rachel stood frozen in the car, her heart racing with the duality of her emotions, fear for her daughter's safety, and an overwhelming surge of admiration for the kindness that Eleliana was offering. The rain pounded on, each droplet a reminder of the tumultuous world outside, but inside there was a softness, a quiet understanding. Eleliana's voice was soft but steady as she spoke to the dog. "You can trust me," she whispered, the words slipping out like a prayer. Rachel's chest tightened as she witnessed her daughter's unwavering resolve. This child, so small and fragile in the face of the storm, was reaching out to an animal who had known nothing but pain, cruelty, and distrust. Rachel's instincts screamed for her to call her daughter back into the safety of the car. But there was something in Eleliana's eyes, a silent plea for Rachel to trust her, to let her do this. The dog, once so rigid with fear, now seemed to soften, its body relaxing inch by inch. Its tail, once tucked tightly between its legs, now slowly moved in cautious acknowledgement. The moment felt like eternity, a fragile intersection between fear and trust, pain and healing. Rachel finally took a deep breath, her hands trembling as she let go of the door handle. It was a small, fragile step, but it was the right one. The dog, no longer a threat but a living creature in need of love, had begun to trust Eleliana. And Eleliana, in return, was offering the one thing she had, her pure, unconditional love. The dog took another cautious step toward Eleliana, its eyes fixed on her with a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. It was a creature broken by the world, but in this brief moment it had found someone who could see past its fear and offer kindness in return. Rachel slowly opened the car door, stepping out into the rain, her feet sinking slightly into the muddy ground. She moved toward Eleliana and the dog, her every step echoing the hesitation and wonder she felt in her chest. The moment she knelt beside her daughter, she could see the bond forming, unspoken, fragile, yet undeniably real. The dog nuzzled Eleliana's hand once more, its trembling body beginning to steady itself. Rachel reached out and gently placed her hand on the dog's back, feeling the wet fur under her fingers. It wasn't perfect. There was still fear, still hesitation, but it was progress. And for Rachel, that was everything. Her voice was soft but full of emotion. "It's okay, old friend. You don't have to be afraid anymore." The dog's ears perked up at the sound of her voice. It wasn't used to kindness, not like this. It was used to fear, used to running, used to being abandoned and betrayed. But now here it was, in the presence of two humans who saw it not as a threat, but as a soul in need of healing. The rain began to subside, the storm losing its grip on the world around them. The oppressive weight of the storm, the chaos, and the fear began to lift. In its place, something softer took root. The dog, now less wary, leaned into Rachel's touch, seeking comfort. And Eleliana, her face radiant with a quiet joy, continued to stroke its fur, speaking to it in a language of kindness that transcended words. Rachel sat back on her heels, taking in the sight before her. Eleliana had done it. She had reached across the divide between the broken and the whole. She had touched the soul of this animal, this creature so lost in fear, and shown it what it meant to be safe, to be loved. If you believe that kindness can heal even the most broken parts of us, please like and share this video. Comment below if you think we all deserve a second chance at healing. Hours later, the rain had stopped completely. The world around them was still, the storm having passed and leaving behind only the echoes of its fury. The sky was clearing, revealing a soft twilight glow that bathed the world in a peaceful light. Rachel, Eleliana, and the dog were huddled together under the shelter of the SUV, the warmth of the interior inviting them in from the cold. The dog, its fur still wet, had fallen asleep on the floor of the car, its head resting gently on Eleliana's lap. Rachel watched in silence as her daughter gently stroked the animal's fur, her face soft and serene. For a moment, everything was calm. There was no storm, no fear, only a quiet understanding between the three of them. Rachel's heart swelled with emotion. She had seen Eleliana reach out to this creature, offering it something that had been missing from both their lives: trust. She had seen the fragile connection form between them, one that was built on empathy, patience, and love. It wasn't just the dog that had been healed that night. Rachel, too, had been healed in a way she hadn't known she needed. The night grew colder, but the warmth between them was undeniable. Rachel looked over at Eleliana, whose tired eyes were closed, her hand still gently resting on the dog's back. A soft smile tugged at Rachel's lips. "Good night, my brave girl," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the quiet hum of the car. Eleliana stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She looked at Rachel, her face full of wonder. "Mom, do you think he'll be okay?" Rachel nodded, her heart full. "I do, sweetheart, I really do." And just like that, the storm outside seemed insignificant. The world could be chaotic, it could be cruel, but there was always room for kindness. And sometimes, all it took was a small hand reaching out in the darkness to heal even the most broken parts of us. The dog, once so lost and abandoned, had found a new chance. And in turn, Rachel and Eleliana had found something too, a new hope. A new belief that no matter how hard the world might get, kindness and love would always find a way. If you believe in second chances and healing through love, please like, comment and subscribe for more stories like this. Share with your friends who need a reminder that healing is possible, no matter how broken we may seem.